Good evening to all of you. It's a great evening, and we are back with our session. And this time we have Sangeeta ma'am today with us. She conducted two training sessions on setting up a digital classroom, talking about Google Classroom, how to set up, how do you actually teach several areas, and she cleared a lot of doubts in her first two sessions, which also so thank you, Sangeeta ma'am. And post those two sessions, we did several sessions. We had a live interaction with Bani ma'am, who heads Google for Education. Then we had a session with the Khan Academy head, Mr. Vipul, to understand about the role of content. And yesterday we had a session on virtual school assemblies and virtual parent-teachers meeting. So the whole idea was to give you a total perspective of Google Classroom and how do you get into that online world. And post the two sessions of Sangeeta ma'am, we had teachers coming up with some doubts. And what we did is we created a Google form to try to see how we can address many of the queries of teachers. And this Google form was distributed, and there were a lot of questions, small questions, but very important questions which were raised. We just compiled all those things in a single form, and Sangeeta ma'am accessed that, and we felt that let us address those kind of queries. So let me invite Sangeeta ma'am right now. She's with me right now. Welcome, ma'am.
Welcome. Good
Welcome.
evening, Francis. Good evening.
So I think our teachers are really thirsty to learn and know more. I went on setting up WhatsApp groups, and it started getting onto 5 groups. Then I had to put a stop because each group can only take 250, and almost reached 1,250. So I think the demand to set up the group was more and more. That's where we thought about a Google form to capture. So I think I'll leave it to you to take on the session, and I'll also join in whenever I had to add some clarification. Over to you, ma'am.
Right. Thank you so much. And yes, amazing response from the teachers. You all had tried to get your hands in and experience what we are talking about as digital classroom, and it was amazing to see the enthusiasm. So I'm glad that we are doing this because the doubts definitely are genuine, and you may still have more doubts in your mind and you've not expressed. So this session will just help you get some clarity on a few minor things, but they do will make a difference in the long run. So I'm going to share the screen, and then we will look at some of the points that we have made a note of, and from there we will proceed. Right. So I'm going to just share the screen and get you a glimpse of those questions that we are looking at and addressing them right now. So let's see if we have the screen on. So is the screen showing, sir? I don't see that. Yeah, now it is. Right. So I'm going to start with sharing some of the things that we had noticed and the confusion that is coming in. So we had two sessions which were telecast on YouTube Live, and two sessions earlier where we talked about what G Suite for Education is, basically covering the various apps that come under it. And it was really amazing when we did it the second time around, and I opened the classroom for you in the live session itself. At a point there were 253 participants who joined in, but with a personal domain, personal ID, when I create a classroom, then it allows only 250 maximum participants. So it automatically brought the number down until the late evening of that day. I had 250 teachers still around. And then because there were so many other people who wanted to join in, I had to remove the class after I had tried to send a message across that this is why I'm doing it. And believe it or not, the enthusiasm of the teacher was amazing. Even at 10 o'clock at night, when I checked, so this was cleaned around 9 o'clock, and by 10 o'clock, I had at least 15 more teachers joining in. And till today, the number is 159 students. So I call it the second batch. So you are my second batch in this few days. So the idea that I got from here and why I felt so motivated to come back today was you were trying your hands at it, and that is definitely a very, very important step. You wanted to know what Google Classroom looks like, and you wanted to very sincerely try these activities. I saw some of the amazing slides coming up where some of you also seem to have the love for Bitmoji, and you had tried that. So shout out to some of you who did that. Amazing. And you were trying different things. You were trying to answer questions. You also asked questions in the Google Classroom, which I have tried to answer. So that is a very good step for all of you to start with and to get going. When we looked at the questions, the various queries that had come from you through that Google form, I felt that there is a certain confusion in your minds because we did not highlight the another aspect of this going digital, and that is Google Meet. So we talked about setting up the Google Classroom, but there were a lot of these questions that were coming in, which were actually about or are concerned with Google Meet. So let me just clarify, first of all, the difference between the two. So Google Classroom is your 24/7 virtual classroom where you will be posting assignments or you will be interacting in a virtual manner with the student as you did if you joined my classroom. Google Meet is what you are going to use for video conferencing. So as some of you kept saying, like Zoom. So yes, it is an app which would allow you to conduct real-time face-to-face sessions with your students. So this is something which would perhaps solve your query. And there is a complete integration of Google Classroom and Google Meet. So when you're looking at the questions that came up, I'm going to give you a glimpse of those questions and then give you the answers as well. So somebody had asked that can we use Google Meet and Classroom simultaneously? So that is where I felt that there seems to be a confusion, and then more questions on Google Meet. So what we are looking at, I'm just going to give you a glimpse of that as well. So when you create Google Classroom in your G Suite for Education domain ID, not the consumer Gmail, when you create Google Classroom under your G Suite for Education, you will be able to go to the settings, and in the settings, you will be able to generate the Meet link. So this is one way that you will be able to have both the classroom and Meet in one place. So if that is something that you are looking forward to, then that will solve number of concerns. One big concern is when you open the classroom, you will be able to see the link. So at one link, from one link, you will be able to start the Meet. So when I click on this, it will start the Google Meet, and I will be able to start doing the live session. What this will do is that they will come to the Google Classroom and they will click on the Meet icon or the Meet link. So this is Google Meet right now. And when I click on Join Now, I will be able to start the class. What the students will do is, students will, if they are in your G Suite for Education domain, they'll come to the same classroom, and at the time of the class, they can also click here, or they can click on the classwork, under the classwork, the Meet tab here, and they will be able to join your classroom. Now this protects a lot of things for you and make it convenient, lot of things for you and your student. And that will help you to understand the two things that came up here. One, can we use Google Meet and Classroom together? So when you are looking at, yes, you can use Google Meet and Classroom together, but this case only possible under the G Suite for Education ID. And this Google Meet has been now enabled in your personal Gmail ID as well, with certain limitations. There is a slight difference there, and you can use Google Meet through your personal Gmail ID as well. But that allows only 100 participants to join in, whereas Google Meet created through your G Suite for Education ID would allow 250. And through Classroom is one way. You can create it through your Google Gmail ID itself. In your Gmail inbox, you will find on the left side there is a Hangout Meet. You can go to the calendar and then create an event which will give you the video conferencing link. That link can be shared. Just in case your children have not joined your Google Classroom yet, you can do that. So that is where the two things differ. And the number of participants depend on where have you used, what ID you have used to create the Meet link. Secondly, the recording is possible only when you are using the G Suite for Education. So when you are creating a Meet link, then you can, and you are doing a Meet, that is the live session. So we call it Meet session now. So when you're doing the Meet session, you will be able to record your session only if you had created this session through your G Suite for Education ID. You will not be able to record it through your personal Gmail ID. That is one big difference. Also, do I need some special setup for Google Classroom? No, you don't need any special setup. And can Google Classroom be conducted using smartphone? Yes, you can. So again, the word conduct is not meaningful here. You can access, if you have a Google Classroom app on your phone, you can create announcements through your phone. You can monitor the work that is coming in. You can even assess the Google Form submissions that are coming in. So yes and no. You can kind of carry out the activities that are assigned through the Google Classroom. But the class, when you're thinking about as a face-to-face, it will only be through Google Meet. So when you are talking about what kind of a face-to-face communication, I hope this has now been answered. And we are also looking at Google Classroom lesson be recorded. So when you are working with G Suite for Education ID and you create a Meet link and you are doing a Meet session, those lessons can be recorded and they very nicely get filed into your Google Drive. It doesn't take any space on your local device. So your computer, your laptop, your PC, that would not take any space at all, and you will be able to get the recording of that session in your Google Drive. So in the Google Drive, it creates a very nice folder called as Meet Recordings by itself. You don't have to do anything about it. So the moment you finish a session, if you had kept the recording on, recording will get processed within, say, maximum that I have seen is 7 to 8 minutes. And that file then can be shared with the students who can then watch it. So you can share that file just like we share a Google Doc that anybody can view. You can put the settings for that anybody with a link can view. Send the link of that. That's it. So yes, you can send it on WhatsApp to the children and they will be able to watch your lesson. So that will be definitely an important way to go forward. Also very important is the security part. So we are concerned in terms of, some outsider joins in your Meet session. So how can we restrict if you have created the link of the Google Meet through your G Suite for Education ID, that only the students of your school can join the session without asking for the join. Whereas any outsider will ask to join. So you will get a small pop-up on your screen that so-and-so is wanting to join the session. You can always deny entry or you can admit them. So even if the name is familiar to you, sometime I would suggest that do not, if you have enabled this G Suite for Education in your school and you are using the IDs of the students and yourself to use the Google Meet possibility. So there is definitely a possibility that only the students of your school can join that particular Meet link. Outsiders cannot.
Ma'am, just one question on this, right? Because now since the G Suite is based on the domain, right? That just improves the security of the link, right? Because it's in your domain. It's
Yes.
not like a external link which you are giving. It is a link is being generated via G Suite, which is based on your domain. Now,
Yes.
since your school domain is being used, it is a secured network, right, ma'am? You want to
Yes.
add something on this?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, the IT administrator will control the settings for Google Meet. So when you go to the admin console, they will be able to disable certain parts of this. That is, a student will not be able to create the Google Meet link. Only the teacher will be able to create the Google Meet link. A teacher will be able to record the meet, whereas the student will not be able to. And when you look at all of this, the security is becoming more tight as we go along. And these features, in fact, when we started using Google Meet from the month of March, then these developments came in because they realized that now students are going to use it. Earlier, it was not part of the G Suite for Education. So then these new features have been brought in to protect students and the security of the students. So that definitely it is much more secure than using any other video conferencing app. And it will help you to see how, especially when you're looking at this link being generated through the classroom, because there was a question coming up later that this link, stays on, the meet link that we are talking about stays on. Well, it doesn't happen when you are looking at the meet that is created through the Google Classroom. So when you create the link through the Google Classroom, teacher starts the class, all the students leave the session after the 30-40 minutes of teaching is over, and then the teacher leaves the meet. That means she closes the meet session. After that, the student cannot click and join back that link. They can join back only in the frame window of 2 to 3 minutes. But after that, the teacher, once the teacher has exited, they will not be able to. So the Meet link is very secure. Even if I have sent it out to a friend of mine and said, okay, you come in and meet me, at that certain time, well, no, that would not happen. So the security definitely is much more because it is all happening in the domain of yours. So that definitely would take care of a lot of issues as far as it is concerned. So again, that is what we are looking at, more confusion coming in or more queries coming in terms of how you use the personal Google Classroom and the G Suite Classroom. So personal Google Classroom and G Suite Classroom have basic structure is the same, because what you experienced was classroom created through my personal Gmail ID. So the features are more or less the same, but still some of them are not. So if I create a Google Classroom through my G Suite for Education domain, then only the students of my school can join and my school teachers can join. An outsider cannot join. So if your code is being shared with someone else and they try to join into your Google Classroom through your personal ID, you would not be able to control that. You will have to reset the code at any given time. Also, certain things like importing the grades. When you use Google Forms and you are importing the grades, participants, although we would never have a classroom, Google Classroom, even if it's a virtual classroom full of 100 or 250 students, but G Suite for Education allows for 1,000 students and personal Google Classroom allows for 250 students max. So that is also a small difference there. And if you have opened a personal classroom with your consumer email ID, then you can't use it for the G Suite. You will have to create a new classroom when you get your G Suite for Education ID. Definitely the two things will not gel, because your Chrome admin will control who can join your classroom. So from the G Suite, no personal ID can join in and vice versa.
Ma'am, would you like to clarify, because since there are so many questions about personal classroom and G Suite, they need to understand probably that G Suite is for the school and
Yes.
that comes with the data which is free, right?
Yeah.
But when you open a personal Gmail account and if you cross a benchmark, you need to start paying for data, right? So the G Suite for Education is specifically linked to your domain of your school, right?
Yeah.
And where your data is free, where your and it's resting on your domain. But personal Gmail is not resting on your school domain. It's like a consumer account,
It is a
almost.
consumer ID
Yeah,
only. And
yeah,
also the storage that comes with G Suite for Education.
yeah,
So that is unlimited. And so the drive storage is unlimited. So even if you do 10 recordings in a day with the Google Meet, you can just have the files stored in your Google Drive, and you can actually have your entire resource developed in terms of the video. So that itself speaks volumes about it. If you have lots of material that is being created, it will not occupy any space there as well. So having anything that you are doing with your G Suite for Education is secure, it is free, it has unlimited storage, and the school will be able to. So just in case you need to, you have deleted something, or you have perhaps you are leaving the school, or your class is being changed. So suppose in the middle of the year your administrator changes the timetable and you get another section, and somebody else wants to come and take your class, the data in terms of the content can be transferred. So that also is very smooth. So all your work that you have done will remain with you, but it can also be transferred to another teacher. So you can shift the ownership of the classroom to another teacher, and you can take over from someone else as well. So from the administrative point of view, having or using G Suite for Education is a blessing, because your data is with the school, you are able to manage it, you are able to control it, you are also able to not only just that, when you are looking at the usage of it in terms of various apps, you can control who is able to do what. So you are then controlling the YouTube usage. If you don't want children of a certain age group to access YouTube, even Gmail, if you don't want them to have Gmail, for the younger ones especially, then you can control that as well. So definitely there's a big difference between a personal Gmail ID and a G Suite for Education ID. So how many students can join? I think I've already answered. So 250 in personal and 1,000 in the regular G Suite for Education ID. Does each child need to download or install the G Suite? No, you don't need to install anything anywhere. Everything is a cloud storage. So if you have got the G Suite for Education ID, so if you've got Sangeeta Gulati at the rate, like mine is sanskriti.school.edu.in, then I have along with it everything else coming in. So when I open my drive, I will have all those apps there. Unless I want to add more apps, those can be taken from the Google marketplace, and I can add them. Your administrator can release them for all your IDs. So suppose in maths, GeoGebra is a very useful app. So your administrator might decide. So when I'm saying administrator, the IT administrator, he might decide, or you can request him that please release it to IT. So that if I want my children to use GeoGebra, then they will not to the GeoGebra website. They will open through this and they're able to find in their drive, just as we are talking about, or any other special app if you come across, and you can have a request with your IT administrator. If it is free and if it is in sync with the needs, then it can be installed. Extensions can be installed as well, so that the productivity increases as you use more and more of it. And do we have to make a student email ID? Yes, absolutely. Yes, you have to make the email ID for all the students and all the faculty members, and even all your administrative staff. Everybody email ID can be and should be generated so that they have access. And this is for K to 12. It doesn't have to be for students who are above 13 years. But yes, as a protocol, one would like to inform the parents of the younger kids that this is what we are going to do, and would you have any objection. So just to have the parents on your side, and to be part of this decision you should maybe consult them or take some parent representatives and make them aware of it. And how you create, what should be the format of the IDs, completely up to you. Each school can have their own format. Usually the admission numbers are unique to a child, so you can have admission number @ but the user name will be Sangeeta Gulati, and the number, admission number @sanskritischool.edu.in could be the email ID. So they're two different. So email ID would look like a number, but there is a username, so you will know who has asked or who is in my class. So that is definitely a possibility. So the
Ma'am,
main thing is the difference between G and G Suite. Yes.
I just
Yes,
wanted to
Francis.
add here, yeah, I just wanted to add here that it is up to the school to name it, right? We are not saying that
Absolutely.
this is the only way to name, but yes,
Absolutely.
I have heard different perspectives. One perspective being that if you have the student's name along with the roll number, then teacher will be able to call that student and relate that student faster. But there are also schools which are saying that, why should we leak out the names? So I'm saying that's a school's perspective which you can take on as time goes. But I think you have to make life easier for a teacher. So when a teacher is in a classroom, she should be able to recognize a student, in my view, which is also important.
But just to say that, when we look at our classrooms, if the child has email ID as 6357 @ something, when they join in, their username shows in my classroom. Their email ID doesn't show in my classroom.
Okay.
So the
So
list
that's
of the students, and when they're submitting the work, then it's the names that are coming in.
so then that's a good
So
thought.
that is,
Then that's a good thought, because then you can administrative wise also do it better, and the username also can be the child's name.
yes.
Yeah.
So the ID and then username, there are two fields that you create. So you create the email ID, then you also write the username. So you can have a distinction from that. So again, completely up to every school to figure out what works best for their domain. It's there are no hard and fast rules here for that, surely. Okay, so yeah, and again, some more questions on Google Meet and Classroom. So can the principal enter into the Google Classroom to check what is being uploaded? Well, the principal can only enter, or enter word is more like a physical enter. But if you add the principal as a co-teacher, then the principal will be able to see all the work that is being done. So that is that you have to invite the principal, just as you have to get co-teachers in. So that is a possibility. But again, up to you and the principal if they would like to be part of, because that would mean a whole lot of classrooms for principal. But the principal can also be part of your Google Meet sessions. So the link of the Google Meet can be shared with the principal, and you can always find a way to do that. Maybe figure that out, and the principal can be part of the real life session as well. And yes, there is a possibility that if you add them as the co-teacher, they'll be able to see what is happening in the Google Classroom. And then somebody had said, and I am again, I put this here to clarify. So somebody said, you said, no, I didn't. August, no, that is not correct. Google Suite for Education is free. It is not now free. It has been free for all these years that Google came up with this concept. So they will remain free. And what is limited for the time being is the Google Meet. So Google Meet was made free till September. So we will be looking at whether that video conferencing app is still the need or not world across. And if it is, then it will remain free till the need is there. So that is definitely the only thing. And all these resources will remain in your drive. So they will not go away as long as you have the ownership of that ID, as long as you are managing that and monitoring and using that ID that is created, all this content remains with you. Yes, if you leave that school, and your G Suite for Education ID is taken away, then you will not be able to access this material. But all the material and resources will remain with the teacher as long as you have the Gmail ID. And how do we note attendance of the students? So again, this is not an inbuilt feature of Google Meet. And I've been assured, just yesterday by a Googler that more updates are coming in Google Meet. But this one is not right now, but there are extensions. So I'm using an extension known as Google Meet Attendance extension. So you can go to the Chrome Web Store and find it. That would help you to take the attendance whenever you do a live session. Also, so far, no, there is no option of muting everyone. But considering that this is a demand coming in, this is exactly what I was assured yesterday, that this is a development coming up. So soon enough, we will be able to get this update, and you will have more authority of muting all the students in the room. And in Google Meet, if the host leaves the meeting still continues. So this is what I have already talked about, that if you create a Google Meet link from your personal Gmail or from your school ID, it now does not remain active. You will be able to disable it, especially the one that you create from the Google Classroom. It can be disabled the moment student leave. Hang on for 2-3 minutes and then close the room, as we physically call it. And of course, if the students don't leave the Meet, there is a way to remove them from the call. So remove them, and then after 2-3 minutes, if you close that, the students will not be able to join in. From your personal Gmail ID, I have been testing it out. If I have conducted a session through my personal Gmail ID, the outsider has to ask to join. So once your Meet link is, if you have closed the session, if somebody is asking to join, then they will definitely not be able to join it. So that is also a way you can think about it. So that takes care of this one concern, which perhaps was worrying some of us. Okay, so another concern that came up even in the Google Classroom, which many of you were part of, and the conversation was going around, how do I teach? Which is a very genuine concern, in terms of language teachers and maths teachers. So both are almost in the same boat, because for the rest, it feels like it's easier. It's not easier for anyone, by the way. It is always, there is a big leap and change, and we all have to find a way. So it is not easy. But yes, we do have a way of getting the Marathi font in the Google Classroom. And you can also have math equations. So I had mentioned this earlier. I'm not too sure if it was done in the live sessions also or not. But there is something called as Google Input Tools. So again, it's an extension. So when you are looking at Google Input Tools as an extension, then you can actually type in Hindi or in other languages, as far as the Indian languages is concerned, with a lot of ease. So if I, for example, just take a small text box here, and I want to type in Hindi here. So in my Chrome bar, I have here an extension known as Google Input Tools. I will activate that, and I'll choose the language. So I have Hindi as the language chosen, and then I can start typing. So this is where you can just type in, and if I am using my keyboard, so it goes phonetics. So of course there are teachers who are using different ways of using the keyboard to type. They would find a workaround, but this is an easy one in Google settings. So if I choose that and I just press enter, then I will get my Hindi word there, right? So Hindi mein, agar if I want to write, so Hindi mein kaise, and so I'm basically typing in English, but I'm going to get that. So that is a way that you are able to do. And if I'm looking at the idea of using this, whether it is in Google Docs or in a Google Classroom, the same thing happens. So I can go to the Google Classroom and I can go into the stream. As long as my Google input toolbar is activated, I will be able to type in here in Hindi. So if I want to just write a welcome here or namaskar, so I can definitely do that from this itself. So that is a way. It is a little workaround, definitely. So, but it does work very smoothly. So all your assignments, and you can encourage children to add this. So this comes from Chrome Web Store. So add this Google input tool in your as an extension, and it should work. And maths, yes, we had talked about this earlier. So for maths, there is something called as Equatio. So when you are looking at a tool known as Equatio, again, it is a Chrome extension which you can install and you will be able to then use it. It will help you to type in maths. Yes, it is not a very smooth solution. अगर आप चाहें कि आप हाथ से लिख के पढ़ाएं, as many of them said that I need to solve the problems, you need some more devices with that. So you need some more gadgets with it. If you have a touch screen and stylus, it would work. But I'll just show you a few possibilities with that. But with equation editor, I can just open this and I can have a certain, so if I want a fraction to be formed, so I can, my Google input bar is, a tool is still open, so it will even type in Hindi here. So I can have all my maths typed in Hindi as well. So I'm going to just turn that off, and I don't want Hindi numbers coming in. So I'm going to type in, so 1 by x plus 1. And so all these fractional terms or anything else that you want can easily be written down. So if I have x squared, so I'm using shift and 6 number key, and I'll have an x squared minus square root. All of that is possible as far as you have the Equatio installed. And then you click on insert math and it will go as an image. So it is not a very easy or very single step exercise, but it is a possibility. It will show up absolutely in terms of the way that we are looking at. So right now I was just had to click there, but it will add in as an image right here. You can see what I had typed showed up right now. So it is a very much a possibility. You can create your content, and believe me, as a maths teacher, I've taught like this for 2 months. It is a lot of effort, no doubt about it. So I'm not saying it is going to solve your problem or make it easy. What are the alternatives? Let's talk about that, because we don't need to always do high technology. So the alternatives could be that what the world. Not only it's not a unique problem to India. So what teachers are doing is they are using their phone. So they put their phone turned upside down and stack maybe some books, hold that camera on piece of paper, and they are writing on the piece of paper, and they are joining the meet through their phone and through another device. So whatever is being reflected on through the camera is being presented, and they are able to handle the lesson. Especially for accounts, if you have to write long ledgers, it doesn't really help if you have something on slides. So they are finding a workaround. Other possibilities are something which you can explore. There is an open board. So that's a free software you
I think we just lost Sangeeta ma'am. Maybe she'll just join in 2 minutes. So just hold on 2 minutes. She'll just join us back. I think we just lost Sangeeta ma'am. Maybe she'll just join in 2 minutes.
Okay, I think I lost the connection in between. Yeah. So I don't know
Welcome
where.
back. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, you were in the last slide. You just showed how practically you can also teach an alternative. So you can
Right.
proceed from there.
Okay. So yes. So a lot of possibilities are there. You just have to innovate a little and try out what works best for you, and that would be the way. So teachers are holding phone and writing on piece of paper, and then from there you are going ahead.
So I
Will
think
it be
really,
possible for me to post them?
yeah.
Yes, you can. You can post all of your activities wherever they are. The best way is to put them in the Google Drive. So move all your content into the Google Drive, and from there share it with the students with the rights of whether you want them to edit or you want them to view. That is a possibility. Okay. But make sure that when you are maybe moving a Microsoft Word document, then that is not something that can be edited. And therefore, the students will not be able to save them as a Google Doc and then let the children work on it if you want them to edit. That is definitely one way. Same, yes, you can share them simultaneously. So when you create a material or you create an assignment, you can add multiple files. There is and I've already talked about recording, so it is not the of So for some reason, I'm just dropping out of the call. I'm not too sure. No current
I don't know.
issue here.
There is some drop which is happening. I don't know how. But carry on, ma'am. Carry on.
Okay, so I think there's some connectivity concern coming in here. So I'll just share my screen and we'll go from there. Okay, so again, there are no shortcuts to everything. You do have to do a little bit extra. Hopefully, you will be able to find your way through. But what we were talking about was, I'm going to keep this open so that we can see that. So you can share your content from your own personal devices, as well as you can use the multiple files attached with your Google Classroom. You can also create a recording of the Google Meet, and you can create in fact short recordings, and that can be a great way for you to build up your resource. You can put that in classroom and children can access that, and you can also record the live meet. So definitely that is a possibility for you to do. And we are looking at more questions coming in. How explain in person in the classroom? So I think now there is a clarity that it is just not Google Classroom, but you are also looking at Google Meet. And how do we share your screen from the laptop? That will happen through the Google Meet. So when you are in the Google Meet, you will be able to share your screen. Okay, so if you have not experienced Google Meet, then maybe you can just create a Google Meet through your personal Gmail ID. So when you sign in and open Gmail, on the left side, it's very nicely displayed. New add videos from your drive. So please first take the file from your desktop, add it into your Google Drive, and then add it into the Google Classroom. The best way to have a video shared with the students would be if you can add the video in a slide. Then they will not be asked to download. It will open in the interface of the Google Drive itself. So they will not have to download. We don't want them to download and you to download and upload again and again. So this step can be easily avoided, absolutely. Also, for a few more questions coming in terms of if I'm the class teacher, and this is a very practical question, right? So if you've started Google Classroom, then who creates the other classroom? So again, the protocol is that each teacher should create their own classroom, because you as a teacher should own that room. So you will create the classroom for your subject, and the other class subject teachers will do for their own. If you're a class teacher, you may want to have a kind of a home room, so you can have a subject room and a home room, kind of two classrooms. So in one could be a general interaction, and each teacher will have then the code of their respective class, which they will then share with their students. And this I have already answered. Can we record our own videos? Yes. You can record your own videos, especially when you use Google Meet. You can absolutely record the session. So even if you are doing it at a certain time when you are not doing a live session, you can create small recordings. Don't create too long a recording. Create small recordings just using Google Meet. Just talk to yourself, teach thinking that there are students, and explain a concept, and you can use that recording in the Google Classroom. Or the live session recording, you can later post it in the Google Classroom for children to see. More concerns that came in, that if you have a form created, Google form, I believe, where you are trying to do a short quiz, then yes, you can use it with number of classes. It doesn't have to be with one section itself. So if you have used it with one section, you can use the same form with the other classes as well. Or if you want to keep the data segregated, you can make a copy of that form, rename it. So one form can go as 9th A quiz 1, the other copy of it you can rename and call it 9B quiz 1. That is also possible. But even if you use it with Google Classroom under your G Suite, you don't need to make copies of it, because all the marks will get imported into the Google Classroom from there. And yes, there is an option to reuse. So you can reuse your work assigned in another classroom, always under the classwork. So under the announcements, you can reuse post as well as in. So if you open the create button of the classroom, you will to do that. I have created some questions in assignment as Google Docs, but unable to share. So I don't think that is a concern. If you have assigned it through the Google Classroom, you can share it as maybe for students to view only, or through the option of make a copy for each. And if you want them to work on it, then keep it as an option where they can either edit all simultaneously as a collaborative task, or make a copy. So what is the purpose of this needs to be clear in there. So it should not be a problem there. I'm not too sure. So one of the concerns came up very prominently all across, and I think this is a concern of most of us as teachers. How to connect with children? Can we see students' reactions? How it is frustrating not to be able to see the students. So I think once you start, then these concerns will be addressed. You can ask them to begin the class, you can ask them to keep the cameras open. You can have a general interaction with them. You can see their faces. So there is a possibility to see, 16 faces. If you choose the view of grid, you can see 16 faces at one time. So you have an interaction with them. So start and stop your class with a general interaction. You will get the connect. And it is possible to connect also through the Google Classroom. When you send the private comment in the Google Classroom, the student feels definitely that there's a message only for him, and they do feel connected. I'm teaching a group who I had not taught in the grade 10. I don't know them by faces so much, but I now know their names. I know who's capable of how much of work. So all these things over a period of time. So give yourself time. Don't expect too much, too soon from this. And in case the connectivity is a concern, I think your administrators will understand it. It is not always possible to have a foolproof solution. So if you are unable to take the class because of the connectivity, you need to find a way. So in my school, the solution that we have figured out is that in every live session, we are trying to get 2 teachers present. So if my connection is lost, so here or not. So Francis sir, are you back? Okay, so again, let me check as well, because okay. So that is where we feel that some and the students are all quiet, and there's one section that I'm teaching where I'm the only teacher, so I have to constantly tell the kids that keep saying yes or no, so that I know that I'm not talking in vacuum. And especially when I put it in the present mode, the slides, I can't see the chat. So it is important to hear these voices. So if you have 2 teachers on a call, then it is better, because if you lose the connection, the other teacher, even if it is not the same subject teacher, because there are a lot of staff in each school who are not teachers. So you can, the librarians, you can have the lab assistants, you can have administrative staff whose duties are something that doesn't require them to teach, but they are available. So they can be allocated along with you, so that if you lose connectivity, you can connect with that teacher, and through phone call or so, and say this is a trouble. Can you inform the class? And if you can hold on to the class, fine. And if I can try and join, otherwise tell them to work on the assignment or on the register, etc. So you can coordinate with that person. Also, what I do most of the time, if I lose connectivity and I'm on the single person call, then I immediately open my Google Classroom app on my phone, and I put the note there first. And of course, I can join Google Meet also, from my phone. But I know that I won't be able to do much of a teaching because my slides were open on my bigger device. So immediately I inform them that I'm coming back, hang on. So that is the way you can deal with it. So there's no perfect solution. And with the slow learners, you can again have, in fact, better interaction with them, because you can assign special tasks to them through the Google Classroom. Will they be able to comprehend? Yes or no? You can also, if you are very, very concerned, and if you have time, and if your situation allows you, you can give them a different time slot, maybe a little later in the day, that, okay, this is my time when I'm available, come and join the Meet session here. Or we will open the classroom for you at this particular time. Then you can maybe clarify some of their doubts. So something which was not possible in a regular school timetable, because you can't extend your hours. If you wish to, you can try them. But whether they will be able to comprehend, it's not only about slow learners. for all students, that is a concern. So if they are sitting behind the camera, are they actually listening or not? So and ask them to answer it then and there in the meet session. That is important because you want them to participate. You want to keep them active. Just listening to the teacher will be very, very boring, and sitting, they will get distracted. They will open something else, and they'll be distracted with what's happening at home around them. Use of virtual whiteboards, I have already explained that there are possibilities. You can have Jamboard, and one of the days we did an activity on whiteboard.fi, which sends out a whiteboard to each participant, and you can ask them to write their answer, and you can see in the live time. So a lot of possibilities are there. In fact, for maths teachers, one of the major update that has come is in GeoGebra. GeoGebra is an open source software. If you have ever used it for maths teachers, which brings in a lot of visualization. So they have brought in an update just this week where you can have a live session with the students and you can actually see them doing the work. So those possibilities are opening up and you will be able to do. Okay, so this is still a big question mark. I'm not convinced that we are doing justice for our younger children through the remote learning. So how will Google Classroom help kindergarten kids? How can I take class for pre-primary, and it is difficult for primary children? So yes, this is absolutely a concern. Google Classroom is not actually meant for kindergarten kids, in the sense that we are not expecting them to read or type, right? So if you at all use Google Classroom, then use this as a mean of communication, sharing of the content, mainly for the parents. So if you are planning to reach out to the younger kids, then it is with the intention that you want to send out some resources which the parent would help the child with. Also, I know of teachers who are, what they are doing is they're asking parents to start the meet session, put the kids down, and of course the kids will not be sitting in one place for too long. So it has to be a very short session, and what they're doing is they're using various modes of communication, mostly WhatsApp, reaching out to the parents and telling them, in tomorrow's session I'm going to do an activity and this is the material I need. So they do clay work, and for example, so they said, have clay, aap unko aata de dijiye bana ke. So they would give them the dough, and the teacher is telling them how to use that to make something. So even something like that, where the child is able to see or connect with the face as a teacher, that itself is a whole lot, then doing nothing. So that live session you can use, and Google Classroom. So again, maybe just a short 20 minutes of that, and then 10 minutes of some songs, nursery rhymes to be played, and you can dance with the children, you can sing with the children. The children will be able to see you. They will not be able to focus for too long a session. So definitely not more than half an hour is advised for younger kids as far as this kind of activity is concerned. And definitely you can try to reach out, send out some resources, because the parents are also seeking the help. If they want to do something with the kid, they don't know what. So send them some basic ideas or tips which they would be able to use. But otherwise, yes, it's a very big concern as to how we are helping our younger kids. And then there were some more questions coming in terms of these possibilities. And so virtual practicals, when we talk about, then virtual practicals, there are solutions. There are a lot of resources that are available. And one of them is an indigenous one, which is known as OLabs. So you can just Google for OLabs. It's been around for quite a few years. It's developed by the Ministry of Information Technology, and they have synced it with the CPSE syllabus. So I'm sure if you are either a CPSE or a state board, you will be able to find a lot of material there for the science and maths, and there are some English lab activities as well on Speaking Learn.
Ma'am, you want to repeat the website?
Yeah, it's
Or
called
the app?
just Google for O Labs, capital O LABS, O Labs. So that is something that you can try, and you will find a lot of content there. That is something which is mapped to our curriculum. So that is a good point to start with. So they have some simulations there. And if you are a science teacher, you should also look at PhET simulations, PHET, PhET simulations. So they have fantastic material as well for science. So subject specific, we'll have to look at in terms of what the need is, and you will find a solution. There is a solution for most of these problems, but not all, I'm sure. You've already had a good look at assemblies after yesterday's session. Competitions, well, I think the schools are going ahead with this. I'm not too keen on spending too much energy on this, but schools are holding their, Model United Nations online. They are doing their various debate competitions online. They're opening the field of various online. Classroom can only for houses, and then you want to do a house meeting, you can get them all into one meet, and you can even create opportunities for children to do these extracurricular activities and co-curricular activities. So all the activity classes, but you will have to redefine them. You will have to think of it in a different context. So you cannot. So again, coming to drawing, for example, uh, students will not be able to get a actual feel of what you're doing through this. Form. But if I can teach maths holding a camera on a piece of paper and writing, you can do that as well. You can put a camera of the phone. Just use your phone. You don't need to get another gadget. So just use your phone and put it, turned upside down, and face a camera towards the work that you are doing, and show them a certain skill that you want them to learn, and let the child repeat that and create work, take a picture of it and send it to you, even if you can't see the real work. So that is a possibility. Or if the student has a phone with them, they can record themselves explaining the work that they had done, and they find you cannot have a replication of the real classroom. Definitely not. Timetable, again, every school is finding their own way to get this balance in. We are giving 10 minutes break between each slot so that the child gets a little breather. Then they get 20-25 minutes break after two periods, so that they are not sitting at a one place for too long and facing the camera all the time and the screen all the time. Also, the parents have to play a big role here. So you will have to get them on your side, tell them what the need is. And I completely empathize with the situation where the device is being used by multiple people. So even as a teacher, you may not have the device always available. So lack of devices is something which you will have to bear with it. Maybe use your phone some of the times to do the meet session. That is a possibility. You can also look at a possibility of recording your lesson beforehand and putting it in the Google Classroom if you do not, in the lifetime, if you are not able to access a particular device at a particular time. But again, I think Francis sir will also would like to help us to answer this. This is a major concern, not only in Maharashtra and Goa and Gujarat, but everywhere. All across the world, in fact. Not all our children are fortunate to have the access. So equity definitely is a concern. Even in my school, we are very concerned about 10% or 15% of children who are not able to join in the live sessions. So for that, I really don't have an answer. We all should find a solution, but don't have an answer right
I think
now.
I just would like to add here, yes, this is a challenge because digital infrastructure is something which everyone has to build, right? At some point of time, we expect that due to the pandemic, probably the governments will look at building a digital infrastructure which ensures learning. Right now, we are actually blessed, especially with if it's a private aided school or an unaided school. But there are a lot of government schools and municipal schools who are actually, the children are suffering because they do not have a device or a data to sustain the learning in their device. So I think, but I think there are many efforts being taken. There is learning happening via radios, via televisions, and I
Yeah.
believe this problem will be solved at some point of time, because and nowadays devices have become cheaper and cheaper, right? Technology is becoming cheaper and cheaper. We recently did a drive where we asked everyone to donate one spare device if you have got at home, probably so you can collect that and give it to children, because everyone in probably the privileged people all have a spare phone probably, or a device at home which is spare. So can we all do? So I think it's a community issue, and I think the community will find an answer to this in some point of time. But till then, there was a survey which was recently done in Mumbai among the private aided schools, and it was understood that 75% of the private aided students have access, 25% don't
Okay.
have. But in a municipal school, it is only 25% having access and 75% don't have. But I think it's the community effort which has to make it, which has to change the scenario, and I think it will come. Data is another issue which will come in, but let's not pause our effort, because I think there are many people working in this effort, and every parent, especially an Indian parent, I can say, whatever said and done, they will try to give their best to the children. So and that push will actually improve the digital infrastructure, right? There are many
Yeah.
people, who do everything and spend everything to ensure that the children learn. I think that parenting will emerge, and I think they will support their children, and we are hoping that we can contribute. I also wanted to share, when you mentioned about timetables, right? Do not
Yeah.
overstress the children, because I know you're
Absolutely.
conducting face-to-face classes at in school, and probably you're trying to replicate. This is not the year for you to push the curriculum and the outcomes and finish the syllabus. No, this is not that year, right? This is a year where you can ensure that minimum learning is happening, children are remaining engaged, their habit formation does not change, right? They are mentally and physically supported and engaged. So do not try to finish all your subjects, and do not try to finish everything in one go, right? Do not. So I think the government is also very, very clear in bringing guidelines for online learning. So I think we can
Yeah.
expect that from NCRT very soon. They will bring in guidelines. But when I check with schools,
Yes.
and a tentative timetable is, they say for a pre-primary, you should give enough breaks, like ma'am mentioned. There are a lot of schools which are giving pre-recorded videos to the children in advance, so that the parents and all can see and be prepared for the video call with their teacher. But it should not exceed maybe around 1.5 hour or 1 hour 45 minutes, with lot of gaps, right? So
Yeah.
this year every teacher has to take more effort, right? You don't try to finish everything in a stretch, saying that, okay, I've got 1.5 hour, let me just finish it off together. No, you will need to give breaks to the children. So I think the school mentioned that maybe keep 1.5 hour for pre-primary, including 10 minutes break in between. For grade 1 and 2, probably do 2 hours, not more than 2 hours. They are too young. Keep breaks for them. For grade 3 and 5, they said we are doing 2.5 hours. For grade 6 to 8, they are doing just 3 and a little bit more than 3 hours. For grade 9 and 10, they're just doing 4 hours. But give enough breaks, and take it slowly, right? Don't say
Yeah.
that we have been doing 6 hours, 7 hours in school. They are in 10th standard, they've got an exam, they have to finish everything. Let's just finish 6 hours. No. So I think it will be a crime if you try to do it, because you are actually putting a lot of pressure on the family, especially at
Yes.
an anxious period like us. So I think, but I think we'll get directions from NCRT and the state governments in this regard, and we should, till then, we should form these basic timings and not over exceed the time which I just mentioned. That's my suggestion. when it comes to assemblies, Sangeeta ma'am, can I share my screen? If you can just stop.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to
Absolutely.
share because I came through a school which did an assembly live, and I just wanted to show a quick video rather than uploading that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you see my screen?
Yes, it's coming up.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is the school.
To this exclusive online assessment. This decision is especially designed to keep all of us
Can't hear the video very well. But yes.
let us analyze the child from various classes. Like from grade 1, I have with us Chaturanga, Alvia, and Guru. We have Ritik.
So I'm just going to move it ahead a little bit. So, but you see, so they have put some pictures, because they cannot bring the scenario. So
Yeah.
they've used pictures to give that feeling. Okay, I'm moving ahead. So this is where the music sir is actually teaching. I'm getting a little bit. Then
Yeah.
so everyone has gathered their own videos and brought in.
Yeah. I can't hear the audio
Yeah.
now, but it gives a good feel that they are trying to do the same style of assemblies here. Absolutely.
And
So we also in our school, we our first period always starts with a school
sorry.
prayer.
Sorry.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, now we can hear some.
So I'm just going a little bit ahead, and I think they have got some social message, and then finally, then I think the principal is the director. So yeah. So I just wanted to give a perspective of course, it's an effort, but you will actually get a feel of how a real assembly happens, right? And I think it's not impossible.
Yeah.
You can actually collate pictures. You can actually bring videos together, and probably not necessarily you need to do it daily because it will take some time to compile. But I think
Yes.
using the old pictures and especially when the happy birthday thing came in, I was I was so happy, right? Because those
Yeah.
kids are sitting at home.
That is,
they're-
in fact, that is what reminded me. One of my live session, there class going in, and one of the kid, again, this is the interaction we do to begin the class with. So
Yeah.
one of the kids said, "Ma'am, today is so and so's birthday." So I immediately started with, "Okay, let's have a birthday song. Who are the musicians in the class? Get your instruments. Who's going to sing a song?" And believe it or not, they actually pulled their guitars and whatever instrument anybody plays, and they were actually playing the entire birthday song for them. So it happened in a live mode, and in a school situation you would also perhaps do it, but this was my 12th standard. They never do this. They have just jumped into doing that. And again, just to relate to this, you need not do this elaborate assembly every day, but what we are doing in our school is we are starting the first period at 8 o'clock with the prayer song. So every school has their own prayer song. So we again made a basic Google slide, and our music teacher recorded her singing the prayer, and we added in the lyrics, coming in lines, because sometimes you are not too sure if the children would do it, not sing along or not. And so we play that, and we expect, the children to unmute and sing along with us. So it just gives them a feeling. The first time I did that, we didn't do it at the beginning, but in the middle of the session, when we were told, okay, let's just try this, and we tried, and I got so many amazing comments. Oh, now it feels like we are back in school. So they felt that the day starting with the prayer, school prayer, which they had they do connect to these things. So it's amazing to do these kind of assemblies and do that, and it is possible. To a great extent, it is possible.
Yeah, what I really feel is that, and this school, I mean, I just got this link. So, and this school has been doing in the month of April, right? This video is dated April 2020. So amazing. So the schools have actually, and give this responsibility to children, because I think they will make master videos. So don't take stress. Children love to do all these things, and give them that opportunity. They are so familiar with technology, and they will, and in the process of doing this kind of activity, they will also learn a lot of things. So yeah. So sorry, ma'am, I had to just show the video, but you can carry on with your balanced questions if you have any.
I think we have finished the questions. I was only going to suggest.
There is one question here. I think someone just missed the video. I mean, your video was jammed when this question came up. So you want to answer this?
How can we teach using the open board? Yeah. Okay. So open board is a software that you can download, and that basically would work well if you have a stylus device with you. So after, once the Amazon started delivery and also, I ordered one as well, and it's a pen tablet. You attach it with your device, and then you can write on it, and the same thing. So what I was demonstrating is this open board, which you open up, and you can have, if you have a stylus device, then you can choose various background, whether you want it to be a white board, or you want it to be a grid paper, or you want a black background. Those possibilities are there, and then you can use a pen and choose even thickness of the pen, and you can choose colors if you wish to, and you can actually demonstrate the lesson. So again, this is for maths teachers. If you want to draw something, you can do that. It also has a lot of these applications. So this would give you the ruler coming in, and protractor coming in. If you want to bring those devices into it, is also a possibility. But definitely the options are there, and you can keep something this ready beforehand as well, and you can then show it to the students as you go along.
I think
so. Sometimes you have to do the mix of the two.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
what's the question?
Yeah, the question is, for a working parent, how to keep track of a student's work. I mean, this is not only for a working parent, but when a live class is happening, right? How does a teacher actually ensure that the child is actually looking at the app and participating in the video app, or probably he or she is opening different tabs and going and doing something else? I mean, you can share, then I would share later. Please, ma'am.
I am not too sure if there is a foolproof method for something like this, where you are able to track, unless you have some more apps added in to monitor what the usage of internet is. But Google Classroom, whatever work is assigned, if you are a G Suite for Education, domain ID is being used, you can invite the parents in so that they get the notification of that work. So that is one way that they will know whether the child has done the work, submitted the work, etc. But online usage, I'm not too sure how much a parent, if they are not around, how much they can manage. Even when they're around, you don't know what the children are opening, at a given time. So definitely you have to be get the children on your side, explain to them. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, ma'am? Yeah, so my perspective is, when we have in a regular classroom also, right, there is some percentage of children who are probably disengaged always, right? And the capability of the teacher is to identify and ensure that everyone is engaged. Similar kind of challenge is there also when it comes to online, because in an online classroom, you would always find some children who are disengaged, and your effort as a teacher is to identify those children. Do not worry about too much technology, how to track them down. I'm sure in due course they will all settle down. And if you are interesting and your topic and your teaching is interesting, I'm sure they're not going to do anything. But there would be always some pranks by children. There is, I recently heard about a software. I'm not recommending that software, but I'm saying I heard about a software. What they exactly do is, and this software is usually used by lawyers, right? Because they do a lot of
Okay.
online advisory services. So now they've come to education, and what they do is they track whatever the child does on the laptop. So if he is there and if he moves into another tab, the whole usage report is actually recorded. Personally, I feel that the teacher's child's relationship is based on trust, right? And I think the teacher's capability is to engage with the children. So do not get into too much technology tools right now. Let the children settle
Yeah.
down. You should settle down, and then probably in the future you should look at tools which can strengthen your classroom management skills. So I think don't get worried about that right now.
Yeah, let's not
And
overload the tools. In fact, in
yeah,
your teaching also, I
yeah,
think I would like to end at that only. That don't get too fancy with the ideas. Don't get
yeah.
technology. If your main purpose is to keep the students engaged, so find tools which help you to do that, and use basic ways of starting off. So again, take small steps so that you are able to carry on with your and get comfortable with that. So yeah, I can some more question here. We already talked about whether you should use G Suite for education or not. So it is not managed the G Suite account, but it will make the entire teaching learning process secure, and it is not only in the times, even when you would be able to use this organized your consumer Gmail ID, you use the G Suite education account. So I think that
So I
black
think
open board did come through when I was even demonstrating. I didn't share my screen. Yeah.
so. I think one thing which you need to understand is G Suite, ma'am. You should correct me if I'm wrong. It's a learning management system, right? It's the ecosystem you're bringing around, right? And that's a place where you can gather everyone. Maybe not looking at each other in a Google Classroom, for which you need to use a Google Meet. But this is where you plan all your lesson plans. You send assessments. You can interact with children. You can actually identify who needs more support. So it's a learning management system. Uh, in my view, Google Meet is more like a video app where you do like the carry a book and go to the classroom, just talk. And learning management system is the
Yeah.
total system of the classroom. In my view, the combination helps you a lot, because if you do not have a learning management system, you are again going back using a textbook and learning and just finishing off, right? And individually, you'll have to
Yeah.
send assessments. It's more complicated. I think using both
Yes.
together will make your life much easier. The challenge is only the initial days when you are exploring. This is, I mean, like
Yes.
any, even when I started using the streaming app, which I'm using right now, I didn't know how to use it. I didn't go to a university, I didn't go to a college to learn how to go live on YouTube. I went and explored. First time I did do mistakes, but probably over time I learned, and now I've become a master of doing sharing screens, having webinars on this platform. But it's a learning, right? So I think you
Yeah.
have to just learn. So, I mean, this is
Absolutely.
one question I wanted to raise, and I think we are, yeah, I think we have almost covered all the questions, ma'am. Thank you so much for your
Yes.
time today, and you have a last message for the teachers, so that before because they are all in the
Yeah, I
exploration stage.
was. Yes, and that is where I thought that they must visit the resources that are already available. on, again, just Google for something that you want to do, and you just put a query on how to open a Google Classroom, or how do we use assignments in Google Classroom. But just to end with it, I did have the last slide where I had given you, I put a link. I would just want to show you that possibility, that there is definitely lot of resources that are available, and you can see some of them through the Google environment only. So there is a website which you can visit if you're looking at one point source. So there are something called as the first day trainings. So this is a website which you can reach through teachercenter.withgoogle.com, and this is, of course, it has a new look as well, and you will be able to find trainings in the form of, there will be short courses for your, you will get lots of tips for Google products. If you get some certificates that can go along, and as each app will be able to that how to use. How of this will be very easy for you. So as I'm showing here, what is Google Classroom? You can learn from here. How do we add students? What is stream page, viewing page? So this is definitely something that you can use from a small website. So right now this link can be shared if possible, or just Google for Teacher Center, and now they're updating it, so you will be able to see the new website as well coming in. So this is definitely a way to go forward with.
And ma'am, how does one become a Google certified educator? I'm sure many teachers, once they're experts, they would like to
Absolutely,
share.
yes, absolutely. So there are a lot of certifications. So this is where you will find these certifications. So there is a Google Certified Educator Level 1, Level 2, and then it follows with Google Innovator, and you then reach the trainer level. Or you first can become a trainer, and then if the academy, Teacher Academy, opens in your school or in your country, then you can gain Innovator as well. So when you look at starting with it, Educator Level 1, it is based on a certification which you can apply for after giving a short online exam. But for that, what you need to do, you can learn. So there is a very nice step-by-step modules that come in. You can get training. So again, online at your own pace, you just sign in with your Gmail account, and you can do this little training from here. You get a lot of practice, and then you appear for an 180 minutes exam. It's a very basic $10 fee. It's an online exam. You have to sit continuously. That is the only thing. You have to actually sit continuously in front of the webcam for 3 hours, and give an exam based on all that you are using under the G Suite. And the training for that comes from here. So it has a lot of modules, and you can finish them at your own pace. Of course, you need to sign in for that. So I'm going to skip showing you all of that. But definitely it is something that you can find. So just find the Teachers Center and go to the certifications, and you will be able to reach all of that. So to reach a trainer level, one has to first be clear GC1 and GC level 2, and then you can apply for certified trainer. So I'm fortunate one who has cleared all the 4. So I'm a level 1, level 2 certified trainer, as well as a certified innovator. And G Suite certification also can be tried out. So that is something that, yes, it's definitely very motivating. You don't get more than just getting a chance to learn, to connect with people who are working in this field. You get more enriched when you do these modules, because it will test you on your knowledge. So you might not know the answers, so you will find the answers this way. So that's also a way to learn and grow. So absolutely go ahead and try. Will be to see that. So advice at the end, that take a step every day. So don't leap, but take a small step every day, and I'm sure you will reach a big, and you will hopefully bring joy, in the lives of students who are missing you, and who at classroom, and we need to be place where with them and keep it. Have a few months, so you need to do that. So I think this would
Thank you.
be a good
Perfect.
point to conclude.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for your
So
time.
wishing
And
everybody
yeah,
the
thank
best.
you so much for your time, and looking forward that the idea of introducing the teacher center was that you should you shouldn't just look for us, you should also become a certified educator, and you should also help your
Absolutely.
peers and other teachers and other schools to be more stronger. That's how you can reach scale, right? We are going through YouTube so that we can reach to
Yeah.
more people. But I think if each one of you has watched this video, if you can become a trainer and you can go and spread this word around, it would be fantastic. Thank you so much, ma'am, and looking forward
Absolutely.
to see you soon. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Namaskar.